They decided who I was before I opened my mouth. That's the funny thing about prejudice. It saves people time. They don't bother learning your name, your story, or what you're capable of. That morning, standing in the glass and marble VIP lounge of Logan International, they saw a woman who didn't match their mental picture of power. They didn't see the decades of work, the sleepless nights, the deals signed at kitchen tables and airport gates. They just saw someone they thought they could move. And honestly, if I hadn't lived it myself, I wouldn't believe how fast everything unraveled after that. I was flying to Copenhagen for a closed-door negotiation, the kind that decides whether companies live or quietly bleed out over the next year. I'd booked the front cabin weeks earlier, paid full fare, no favors, no upgrades. I needed the space, the privacy, the table. I'd learned a long time ago that comfort isn't vanity when you're carrying responsibility. It's survival. I walked up to the desk, calmly passport in hand, coffee still warm in my palm, and said I was checking in. The woman behind the counter barely glanced up. Her eyes flicked to my coat, my bag, then past me, already searching for someone more familiar. She told me politely but firmly that premium economy was down the hall. I smiled. I told her she might want to check again. I slid my boarding pass forward. She sighed like I'd asked her to solve a personal problem. When the screen confirmed my seat, her lips tightened. Something didn't add up in her world. She muttered about a system issue about a high-status passenger already assigned to that seat. I told her, still calm, that I wasn't interested in status. I was interested in the contract we'd both agreed to. That's when the tone shifted. The smile disappeared. She offered me another seat further back with a voucher like a peace offering. It was the way she said it that stung, like she was doing me a favor by letting me stay on the plane at all. People behind me started shifting, sighing, checking their watches. I knew the trap. Push too hard, and suddenly I'm the problem. So I took my documents, thanked her, and walked away. Not because I was wrong, but because I was strategic. On board, the cabin smelled like citrus wipes and expensive cologne. I turned left and saw him immediately, already settled into my seat. He looked exactly like the headlines you'd expect, tailored suit, glass of champagne phone, pressed to his ear, laughing about numbers that could ruin families. When I told him he was in my seat, he waved me off without looking. Thought I was staff. Told me to hang his jacket. When I explained again slower this time, his smile turned sharp. He laughed. Said seats like this weren't meant for people like me. Told me I should be grateful for whatever they gave me. The flight attendant arrived and, without asking a single question, backed him up. She told me to lower my voice even though I hadn't raised it. She told me to take the other seat or they'd have to involve authorities. I remember thinking how strange it was that standing up for yourself could be treated like a threat. I moved. Not because I believed them, but because I knew exactly what I needed to do next. I sat down, buckled in, and took out my phone. The plane was still at the gate. I had signal. I didn't scroll. I didn't hesitate. I opened the secure app I rarely needed but always kept ready. One call. The man who answered knew my voice immediately. I told him where I was. I told him who had taken my seat. There was a pause, then typing, then a low whistle. He told me the man up front was finalizing a massive acquisition that morning, one that depended on a short-term credit guarantee my firm provided. Without it, the deal collapsed. I asked a simple question, the kind that changes lives. Were we comfortable backing someone who behaved like this under pressure? The answer was no. I watched the effect ripple forward. His laughter cut off mid-sentence. His face tightened. He stood up, pacing, demanding Wi-Fi, demanding answers. Cards declined. Calls dropped. The same crew member who'd dismissed me now looked terrified as he shouted at her, grabbing her arm, demanding miracles she couldn't deliver. Power is loud when it's confident. It's ugly when it's scared. The captain came out of the cockpit a few minutes later. He didn't address the man up front. He walked past him, past row after row. He stopped beside me. He apologized. He told me operations had informed him who I was and what had happened. He told me the aircraft wouldn't move until the situation was corrected. I told him I didn't need apologies. I just wanted what I paid for. Security arrived quickly after that. The man protested, shouted about loyalty programs and influence about lawyers who'd destroy careers. None of it mattered. He was escorted off, still yelling, still convinced this was a misunderstanding that money would fix. As they passed me, he looked straight at me for the first time, not with arrogance, with confusion. He asked who I was. I leaned in and answered quietly, "I'm the one you underestimated." The flight eventually left. Smooth. Quiet. By the time we landed, the news was already breaking. His deal had collapsed. His board was in emergency session. Assets were being sold to cover losses. I worked the entire flight not out of spite, but because momentum doesn't wait for emotions to settle. Months later, life felt normal again. Busy. Loud. A charity event in New York, cameras flashing, donors smiling. When I stepped outside, a valet opened my car door. I recognized the voice before the face. Same man, different posture, different uniform. No fire left. He apologized, said he'd lost everything. I handed him a bill, not to humiliate him, to remind him. I told him something I wish someone had told him earlier. Respect doesn't cost a thing. Disrespect can cost you everything. So here's my question to you. Was that justice or cruelty? Was it karma or coincidence? Drop your thoughts below. I want to hear them. And if you've ever been underestimated, judged, or pushed aside, remember this. Sometimes the quietest person in the room has the loudest consequences.